Have you ever felt like a bottomless pit, broken from the inside by desires you can't control? It might be the guilt of being labeled a sex addict or the ultimate loneliness right beside your partner due to sexual incompatibility. Even more tragic is when you engage in this behavior like a slave, not seeking pleasure but merely releasing pressure even though you feel no satisfaction whatsoever. But hold on before you beat yourself up. The truth is, you're not broken, and this is absolutely not a moral failure or lack of willpower. We're going to shatter the false stereotypes about frequency, even when that number exceeds 7 times per week. The problem isn't the number of times, but how your brain is operating. Today, we'll clearly distinguish between high libido and hypersexuality, decode the hypnotized brain state that makes you lose control, and most importantly, provide you with a medical roadmap to escape this cycle and reclaim mastery over your life. Part 1. Why am I losing control? Brain mechanisms. Have you ever experienced this feeling? You're sitting at work, driving, or with your family, and suddenly a thought strikes. It's not just a normal craving. It's like someone just flipped a switch in your head. Many viewers have shared with me that in that moment they feel possessed. You know full well you have an important meeting in 10 minutes. You know your wife and kids are waiting for dinner at home, but strangely, all that logic suddenly becomes faint and distant, like echoes from another world. Your body starts moving automatically. You open your phone, you search for images, or you drive to places you promised yourself you'd never return to. You fall into a state many call losing your mind. At this point, you're no longer yourself. This is when everything becomes most frightening. It's not that you don't know fear. Normally, you're very rational. You're well aware of the risks, the possibility of contracting sexually transmitted diseases, the risk of being fired if caught at work, or the ultimate pain if your spouse finds out. But in this state, your brain seems to have frozen the ability to assess risk. All logical thoughts are pushed to the sidelines. You no longer weigh the gains against the losses. All that exists in your universe at that moment is, must perform this behavior right now. It's like an absolute command. You focus 100% of your energy and attention on the sexual reward in front of you and are completely blind to the abyss behind you. And then, when the excitement passes, when the hypnotic state ends, you wake up filled with regret, asking yourself, why did I do that? Am I crazy? No, you're not crazy, and you're not a bad person either. What's happening is an extremely powerful biological mechanism that I want you to understand clearly right now. To help you escape this torment, I want to introduce a concept called cognitive obeyance. This is the scientific name for the hypnotic state you're experiencing. Imagine your brain is like a car driving on the highway. Normally, to drive safely, you need 2 systems: the gas pedal, motivation, and the brake, reason. The gas pedal system, motivation and reward brain region. In people with hypersexuality or compulsive sexual behavior disorder, brain scan studies show that the brain regions related to motivation, reward, and memory are extremely active. When there's a trigger, this region lights up brightly, pumping a massive amount of dopamine into your brain, creating motivation and a reward response much higher than normal people. It slams the gas pedal and shouts, "Let's go, the reward is right there." Is the brake system, frontal lobe. This is the region responsible for judgment, reasoning, and decision-making. In normal people, when the gas pedal is pressed hard, the brake gently taps to remind, wait, that's dangerous, don't do it. But for people experiencing this issue, the frontal lobe region has reduced function or is disrupted. Your brake is broken exactly when the car is speeding the fastest. Judgment ability is paralyzed, making you unable to make wise decisions, leading to impulsive behavior you can't control. So please remember this carefully. Your behavior is not a reflection of your moral character. It's the result of an unequal battle in your brain. One side is a jet engine roaring, and the other is a brake system being disabled. Understanding this mechanism is the first step to repairing that brake. And the good news is, medicine completely has ways to help you regain control of the steering wheel. Part 2. Diagnostic criteria, the map of truth. There's a question I believe anyone watching this video has asked themselves at least once in the dark of night. Ultimately, am I just someone with high needs, or am I really sick? The line between intense desire and a pathological disorder is often very thin and blurred. You go online searching, read hundreds of articles, join forums, but the results often just make you more confused. Some say it's male instinct, others label you an addict, a pervert. You live in anxiety, not knowing if what you're experiencing is a red flag from your body. The lack of an accurate measuring stick makes you constantly doubt yourself, and this doubt is more dangerous than you think. If you really just have high desire, but keep suggesting to yourself that you're sick, you'll live with unwarranted guilt, withdraw, and destroy your self-confidence. Conversely, and more dangerously, is when you're truly facing a serious medical disorder, but dismiss it, considering it normal. Look back and see, are you gradually losing the most precious things? Missed meetings, promises to your wife and children not kept, or increasingly exhausted health? You're steering your life's ship in fog, and without an accurate compass, the risk of hitting the rocks is unavoidable. Don't let this ambiguity destroy your life for one more day. The solution to dispel this fog, I want to give you the most accurate compass from modern medicine. We won't use emotions anymore. We'll use science. The World Health Organization, WHO, has provided an official definition in the International Disease Classification ICD-11 called Compulsive Sexual Behavior Disorder, CSBD. To be diagnosed with this condition, you need to face the truth and compare it with the following criteria. First, regarding time, the condition must last at least 6 months. If you've only experienced a few stressful weeks and turned to sex for relief, that's not necessarily a disease. But if it's a pattern repeated over the past 6 months, be careful. Second, we need to exclude other factors. Make sure this behavior isn't because you're in a manic phase of bipolar disorder or a side effect of acute psychological trauma. And here are the 4 core warning signs. See these as 4 red flags you cannot ignore. Life focus is distorted. Sex is no longer a part of life. It becomes your life. You start neglecting self-care, lazy about bathing, eating irregularly, neglecting work and personal hobbies that once made you happy. Every thought revolves around, when will I get to do that? Powerlessness before willpower. Have you ever promised yourself in the morning that today I'll stop, but by evening you failed again? The second sign is that you've tried many times to control or reduce the behavior, but all unsuccessful. Continuing despite consequences. This is the sign of destruction. You know your boss is watching, you know your spouse is suspicious, you know the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, but you still do it. You trade your career, family, and health for those brief moments. The most important sign, the tragedy of emptiness. This is what surprised and pained me most when researching. You continue the behavior even when you no longer feel enjoyment or satisfaction. You don't do it for pleasure, you do it like a machine. You hate it, you're sick of it, but you can't stop. If you see yourself in these 4 signs, especially the last one, please understand this is not your fault. This is a medical condition that needs support, and correctly identifying it is the first step to healing. Part 3, the truth about 7 times week, the reality check. Let's be honest about this. Have you ever sat counting how many times you reached orgasm in a week, then secretly Googled how many times is normal for men to have sex? I know you've done that, and I know the feeling of your heart sinking when you read the dry information online. A research group conducted surveys on men to find out what's abnormal. And what was their result? They claimed that having orgasms more than 7 times per week is extremely rare. Based on that number, they hastily concluded anyone, male or female, who reaches orgasm more than 7 times a week continuously for 6 months and spends more than 1 to 2 hours on it would be labeled hypersexual. Just imagine the tremendous pressure this number creates. If you're someone with high needs, you might reach orgasm twice every day. That's 14 times per week, double the standard number. When you read that study, what's your first reaction? You panic. You feel like a freak, a monster who doesn't know when to stop. You start labeling yourself as sick, even though in reality you still go to work normally, still love your family, and are completely healthy. This stereotype is extremely dangerous. It turns a natural physiological need, though higher than average, into a psychological burden that crushes your self-esteem. You start trying to detox from something that you're probably not even addicted to. I, as a doctor, have a very big problem with this definition. Why? Because it ignores your quality of life. If you have sex frequently, but you're happy, fulfilled, and not having any problems, then why call it a disease? To prove you're not alone or abnormal, I didn't trust those outdated studies. I conducted a large-scale survey myself on my own YouTube and Instagram channels, and the results will make you breathe a sigh of relief. On YouTube, with over 14,000 respondents, about 13% said they reach orgasm more than 7 times per week, equivalent to at least once a day. On Instagram, similar results. About 15% of my audience are in this high-frequency group. What does this number tell us? It proves that having high desire and reaching orgasm frequently is a completely normal variation of human beings. 13 to 15% is not a small number. If you're in this group, you're not a rare sicko. You simply possess a more abundant source of sexual energy than average, that's all. Remember this carefully. Frequency does not define pathology. You can have sex 14 times a week and still be completely mentally healthy. Conversely, a person who only has sex twice a week but is obsessively tormented and suffering because of it, that's who needs treatment. So let go of the fear about that 7 times number. As long as you don't fall into the 4 signs of losing control that I mentioned in the previous part, then congratulations. You're completely Norma Part 4. It's not that you're bad, but the machine is malfunctioning. Root causes. We've identified the signs, we have data to compare, but after all, there's still one nagging question you always torment yourself with every night. Why me? Why does my brain operate this crazy way while others don't? You look at people around you, they can easily say no to temptations, they can focus on work all day without invasive thoughts bothering them, and you feel like an invisible monster is steering your life. You don't understand where the cause comes from, and this very lack of understanding makes you afraid. The agitation. When you don't know the root cause, you often fall into the most dangerous trap, blaming character. You believe you're someone lacking willpower, someone with depraved morals. You try to use self-punishment to restrain desire, but the more you suppress it, the more violently it explodes. Why? Because you're trying to cure a soft tissue injury by scolding it. If the real cause is chemical imbalance in the brain, then your confessions or empty promises won't have any effect. If the cause is childhood psychological trauma, then trying to work out hard at the gym to forget is just a temporary solution. Until you find the root, you'll forever just be cutting weeds at the surface. The solution. To help you stop fighting in vain, I'll point out 4 real root causes according to medicine. See which group you belong to. 1. The compulsivity spectrum. Running from pain. This is the most common group. Imagine it like OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. For this group, sex isn't for pleasure. It's a painkiller. You perform sexual behavior to escape negative feelings like anxiety, depression, stress, or loneliness. Your brain learns that when I'm anxious, if I do that, I'll feel relieved. And so it becomes a mandatory self-soothing mechanism, an intrusive thought you must act on to release pressure in your head. 2. The impulsivity spectrum, chasing pleasure. Opposite to the above group, this group doesn't run from pain, but can't resist the reward. When thinking about sex, your brain releases a massive amount of dopamine, creating extreme craving. You do it for fun, for excitement, but the problem is you don't have breaks to stop. After achieving pleasure, you feel regret, but when the craving returns, the reward-seeking loop continues. 3. Ghosts of the past, trauma. This is a painful but very real cause. People who have experienced psychological trauma or extreme stress in early childhood often have a broken desire regulation system. They have difficulty establishing healthy, intimate relationships, and their bodies respond by developing abnormal levels of desire and arousal to compensate for those injuries. 4. Medical factors and medications, biological factors. Finally, never exclude biological factors. There are cases where hypersexuality is completely due to medication side effects. For example, Parkinson's disease medications increase dopamine, and this inadvertently triggers hypersexual behavior in patients. Brain injuries, dementia, or epilepsy can also damage the brain region controlling behavior. So, before blaming yourself, ask, am I running from sadness, compulsive, seeking pleasure, impulsive, or being affected by medication and trauma? Answering this question means you've already traveled 50% of the healing journey. Part 5. Don't fight alone anymore. Solutions from experts. If you've ever made vows, blocked adult sites, and relapsed, don't rush to believe you're beyond help. You're not weak at all. You're just trying to use willpower to fight a chemical disorder in the brain. That's like trying to use thoughts to heal a broken bone. It won't work. The good news. The good news is that experts affirm this condition is completely treatable if we combine these two approaches. Medically, hardware. Doctors often use SSRIs, help create a natural break for the brain, or naltrexone, helps reduce the high feeling to cut the addiction. A small note is to be cautious with testosterone-reducing drugs because the side effects on the male body are very large. Psychologically, software, therapies like CBT or ACT are highly rated. They help you identify the trigger that activates desire and learn to observe thoughts without being obligated to act on them. Combining both, the light at the end of the tunnel is completely real. Don't try to carry it alone anymore. Seek professional support. You deserve a free life. We've come to the end of the video, and I know that for many of you, admitting these things is really difficult. For so many years, perhaps you've had to fight in the dark, bearing society's judgment, and worse, your own self-judgment. You're afraid that if you speak up, people will see you as a failure, a depraved person. But remember, silence is this disease's greatest accomplice. If you continue to believe you're bad, you'll forever be stuck in the cycle of shame and relapse. You can't heal a wound if you keep trying to hide it with self-punishment. Don't let this disorder define who you are. Don't let it rob you of the chance to be loved and respected that you deserve. You don't have to climb the mountain immediately. Start with these 3 small steps right after turning off the video. Action 1, implement the 5-minute delay rule. Next time the urge strikes, don't act immediately. Set a timer and wait exactly 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, ask yourself, do I really want that, or am I bored, anxious, or stressed? Naming the real emotion will help you separate from cognitive obeyance mode. Action 2, honest self-assessment. Take out paper and pen or notes on your phone. Write down your frequency and emotions after each time you perform the behavior in the past week. Compare it with the 4 WHO warning signs I shared. Looking straight at the numbers is the best way to stop avoiding. If you want more privacy, download the Better Sex app for a scientific self-tracking roadmap. Action 3, find a safe anchor. Don't fight alone. Search for psychotherapists specializing in CSBD, or consult anonymous support groups like SAA. Just saving a phone number or contact address is already a commitment to change. Finally, if this video helped you lift the burden from your heart, help me with one thing. Hit the subscribe button right now. This small action of yours not only supports me, but also helps the algorithm deliver this video to thousands of other men silently suffering out there. Help them realize they're not alone. Take care of yourself because you absolutely deserve a free and happy life. See you in the next video.